Any installation of a TruckBoss deck, I like to think of it in 4 easy steps. First being rails and legs, second being the surface, third being the sides, and fourth being the additional accessories that you get put on there. We'll be going through this in those 4 different steps. Now that we've completed our surface, we're going to move on to step 3, TruckBoss sides. There are 2 different styles of sides. There's the expandable version and the base side, which is fixed. First, I'm going to show how to put on the fixed side. I've now opened up my base side box. I've taken out my hardware bag and my first side, the passenger side rail, and I'll be putting it together with the hardware in this bag. For our first side, I'm going to require 5 carriage bolts, 5 serrated flange nuts, and 5 base plates for the side. We're going to be going where our intermediates are, as I pointed out earlier. Let's put one of those base plates in every one of those. We're going to slide 1 carriage bolt into the underside of each one of these capture channels, and then one of the 2 front capture channels. It doesn't matter which one, I pick the one that's second from the front. Now that we have our carriage bolts in place, we're going to loosely fit the base plate onto the underside. After these are loosely put on, we're going to attach the side. Now that I have my base plates loosely fit onto my TruckBoss, I'm going to insert my 5/16 carriage bolts into the bottom of my base side. There's 5 per side. Once I have them placed, then I'll move the side in position. Now that I have my side, I'm going to move it so I can orientate the bolts onto my base plates. Wherever there's a base plate, there will be a corresponding bolt. Once you have all the base plates in there, we can just secure that bolt with the serrated flange nut provided. I'm just loosely putting these nuts on before I have my final adjustment on the side. Next, I'm going to put my side into final position. This can be done by taking the rear end cap, inserting it into the extrusion of the side, and just eyeballing that it's flush with the end of the ramp bar. That way it'll cover up the ramp. And then we'll just move these base plates so they're nice and square to the side, push the side in as much as it can against the deck surface, and then tighten the hardware. Now that I have my base side in position and all my base plates are flush with the end, I'm just going to tighten up the hardware, starting with the outside, and then shoving it inside and tightening the inside hardware as well. And this is done on every base plate. And as the final stage of my base deck, I'm just going to add the front and the rear end caps. That can be done by sliding the plastic into place and taking one Phillips screw, which is provided, lining it up with a screw boss inside, and just tightening it into place. I'm now just going to secure my front end cap to my base side, and my base side will be completely installed. Now that we have our surface in place, we're going to move on to step 3, installing the sides. This time with the expandable sides. We're going to open up box 9, which is the largest box supplied. There'll be a different box number for TruckBoss 8 or TruckBoss 6. Consult your owner's manual for the box number. When we open it up, so we have 2 supplied wooden jigs that we'll just put in a safe place for now. We'll have a box that contains our end caps as well as our electrical hardware. We're going to keep that in a safe place, but just off to the side. And we have our 2 expandable sides. At this point, if you've purchased our optional carbide protection kit, I would suggest installing the sidearm part of that kit, as it's easier than installing it when it's on the truck. This can be done by just pre-curving our UH&W sidearms and sliding them into the sidearm like so. When you have the arm slid on, you just want to keep it a ½ inch from the side. That'll make up for the expansion contraction. Once you're satisfied with the distance, we're going to take 1 screw, which is provided in the kit, about 3/4 of an inch in, close to the edge of this flange. You want to place the screw so half of the head is overlapping on this aluminum. Do the same for every arm. Beginning step 3, we're going to lift the side into place. We're going to put it up on the deck surface so we have easy access to the wiring. You can tell that this is the driver's side rail, as the ramp bar at the end is at the rear. We'll just put it at an angle and let the surface support it for now. And we'll do our wiring. For this next step, we're going to acquire 2 red posi locks from the bag that we pulled out of the side box, as well as some side cutters just to take care of some excess wire. What we want to do is take this blue cord from the center of the first deck plank. That's attached to our telephone cord, which has our wiring to go to the middle of the deck surface. We're going to feed this entire assembly through a provided zap strap, which is right at the front. Once we have the wiring fed through there, we're going to be able to secure it so it can't go back into the deck plank. We're going to go up until the very first loop, and then we're going to pull on the plastic strap until it's tight, and now we can work on it without worrying about getting the telephone cord shooting back inside. Now that we have this secured, we can just take care of some of the excess zap strap, and the blue cord we can cut off, as it'll just get in our way. The ends of the wiring have already been stripped. All we need to do is take the posi lock and connect red to red and black to black. Once both posi locks have been tightened, we're going to wrap the wiring into the telephone cord just to keep it protected. And it just makes for a neater installation. Now we're going to move on to inserting the sidearms. Now we're going to insert our wooden jigs prior to us inserting the arms of the sides. It can be done by taking a carriage bolt, lining it up with the capture channel, and just inserting it into place. We'll now insert the rear jig, and we'll put the arms on. We'll now move the side out onto our wooden jigs, and we'll insert the sidearms, making sure that we don't pinch off our electrical. As you can see, the wooden arms support our side, and it helps us align up our sidearms. Just got to make sure that the plastic will get inserted. first little bit of plastic inserted. Once we have the arms aligned, we're just going to insert the flute. We have to make sure that the holes that are on the flute are on the bottom as to line up with our adjustable stop. The flute is located at the third arm in from the rear, as well as the third arm in from the front. Once they're inserted, we're going to line up our limiting stop, which has a nut and a square flange on it. You just have to make sure that it's square going into the hole, and we'll have our side installed. Now that we have the sides inserted, we're going to secure them with our limiting stop bolt, and that is located in the center of the side. We're now going to be inserting the limiting stop bolt into the hole that is located 1.5 inches in from the side on the intermediate. We're going to be using the long side of the weld nut first. We're going to align it with the hole, go through, and then we're going to tighten the bolt. I've now gone back to my side hardware bag, and I've grabbed my 2 adjustable knobs for my driver's side, 2 plastic T-nuts to prevent them from coming out, and the 2 screws, which are square head or Robertson head for the plastic T-nuts. And to install these, I'm going to be using this ratchet screwdriver. You can also use a small stubby screwdriver to install them. There are 2 adjustable side stops per side. There's one at the rear, one at the front. I'm going to install the one at the rear. This can be done by inserting the knob so the long side of the weld nut is pointing to the outside. This will help us line it up with the hole that's located 1.5 inches in from the end of the intermediate. We're just going to find out where that hole is. Screw it up a little bit. We're going to take our plastic T-nut, slide it into place. This will prevent the knob from coming out, and it'll help us align it up with the hole that we've just put the bolt through. Then we're going to use that little screw that we grabbed out of the box with the square head or Robertson head screw head on it, and we're just going to tighten that into place. And we'll repeat for the front one. For our next step, we'll remove our 2 wooden jigs that help us put the side on. And we'll adjust the side for use. The first step in adjusting your side is locating the bolts on the underside of your sides. We'll take a 1/2 inch socket wrench and we'll loosen each one of these bolts off 1 full turn. No more than a full turn, as we don't want the extrusions coming apart. Now that I've loosened the hardware underneath the side, I'm just going to push the side in and out. This will help align the arms with the sides. Once I find that the side is sliding to the point which I like, I will tighten up the hardware starting with the center. And then moving my way from front to rear. So I'll go to the front, then I'll go just off center on the rear, and this way the sides tighten up evenly. They're not over tightened, they just need to be snug in there, and the serrated flange of the nut will hold it in place. Once the sides have been adjusted, you should be able to move the side in and out easily. We've now inserted our sides. We've adjusted them for movability. We just haven't put the end caps on. However, the rest of the install is ready. We can do the same on the other side and move on to the next step. Our sides are installed.